Oops, I'm talking as I'm turning on the stream. What's up, everybody? It is 9 a.m. here in Los Angeles, and it's real professional, Hake. It's Thursday, the 12th of June, AD 2025. I will get to your calls. Some of you guys are calling in already. Thank you, JLP, for and shout out for the. You can do towers and Rumble, but not on YouTube. Okay, we don't take kindly to towers on YouTube. Thank you for rating the stream, Jesse Lee, and for the redirect on YouTube, rating on Rumble. No raid on Pilled because we're boomers. We stream from the same place, so one stream has to stop before the next one starts. Okay, but that's fine. But it's craziest stuff going on in the world. They went at they Me Too'd poor, what's his name again? Harvey Weinstein again. Have you ever seen a Harvey Weinstein movie? Probably, right? Are they just a bunch of degenerate movies, or are any of them actually good in addition to being degenerate? I don't know. I will get to your super chats. What's up, Caesar? Gifted a super chat, a coffee. buymeacoffee.com/JLP talk. What's up, Ivana? Indeed. What's up, C-Sal? Kevin, A. Shout out. Eli. Is Eli here? Oops, I accidentally blinked 3 times when I meant to blink twice. Cactus Eater Bear, sorry. I don't really have anything to say to you guys right now. Nothing deep to share. Just a loosey-goosey Monday show. Like I said, you can call in. Oh, yeah, Thursday show. Yeah. I said Monday. Whatever. Monday, Thursday. Everybody loves them, regardless. Look at that cute bear. Is that a bear? Is that real? It looks fake. But it could be just real, but shopped, photoshopped. Because it's just, is it AI? I don't even know. We're looking at the stuff over here. Because we're getting started over here. Somebody said the planes are falling out of the sky. Whatever. I'm not on the plane, at least. I don't care. But I do care. Because I disclaim and disavow everything that's said on the Hake report, including by me. It does not represent, not even meant to represent, Bond, JLP, the network, the other hosts, this own host. Like I said, I don't even represent myself, nor do any of my callers. My beautiful music that I play, and sometimes ugly music that I play. But I don't play it anymore because of the Spotify takedowns. Shout out to Spotify. I do not represent Spotify, okay? So don't go after Spotify for something that I say. Okay, Spotify employees, nor does my competitor, Joe Rogan, represent Spotify. So calm yourselves, silly Spotify employees. I encourage the women not to worry about, to worry less about politics. Or be worryless. Is it stainless or does it stain less? If it stains less, then it still stains some. How about don't worry at all about politics? Men or women, but especially women. Because the women, they're going crazy. But anyway, I disavow that because that's just Hake yapping. And there's no endorsement nor opposition or condemnation implied. Okay? That's my disclaimer. So the views, opinions, people I started to say people be saying. So black. Shout out. Crazy things. People say crazy things over here. And they don't even know what it means. And they say stuff that it's not even true. And some of the stuff I believe them, and then it turns out not to be true. I even believed the New York Times one time. The New York Times falsely said that Officer Sicknick, who died of like a brain aneurysm or something after January 6th, that some J6ers threw one of those things, fire extinguisher at him. They did throw, some J6ers, or one anyway, maybe, allegedly threw, or convictedly perhaps, threw a fire extinguisher at officers, but that was not Sicknick who was struck, according to a correction from the failing New York Slimes. So, disclaimers all around. You know what I mean? All around. At least I'm not talking in this video, although I am breathing. This is footage from, I guess, December, right? Of this past year. Yeah, December beaches. San Onofre, beautiful beach. You can see the obvious globe indicated by the horizon where it clearly just drops off because it's curving. You can tell that it's kind of curving. The curve is not sideways. The curve is where it's dropping off. Because you see so much detail into the very end. That would only happen with a curved, obvious, big, beautiful ball globe. Same thing with the sunrise and sundown. That indicates the spinning earth. Duh. But shout out to the flat earthers. If Hake expresses any disdain ever for people of differing opinions from Hakes, or people who have opinions when they shouldn't, that does not represent Bond or JLP or Jesus, even though I'm supposedly a Christian. It doesn't. It's just Hake being a malicious little punk. So it's not funny. The lines are filling up. I got to get started over here. Let me turn. I guess that might be we'll do this in terms of the volume, just so that I have it right for you guys. So, anyway, guys. Right? Anyway. Look at that. Let's just get right on with the show.
1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la.
So, how you guys doing? I am fine. I'm very fine. And I have my t-shirt on. The Hake Report la 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 size, pardon me, I struck the mic. Size medium t-shirt on. Hake.printify.me, not to be confused with JesseLeePeterson.shop. Some quality t-shirts over on JesseLeePeterson.shop. Isn't there? Yes, there is. The lines are full. I would like to get to MEADE in Richmond, Virginia, my Confederate American brother and yours, okay? Even you Confederate haters. MEADE in Richmond. How you doing, man?
Oh, hello there.
Hey.
Oh, yes, sir. Thank you for taking my call.
Yeah.
And I just want to talk about a few things namely states' rights and the LA riots.
Sounds good.
So this is a very weird take from me, as I just.
Oh no, the same thing happened to me. Hold on. Mead, you cut out. This happened. Let me just check something. Manuel, are you there? Just curious, checking something. Are you there, Manuel? Oh, yeah, everybody's out again in the world. So callers, you're gonna have to call back. We're gonna be hanging up on you now because we have this issue that took place on the Jason Lee Peterson show. Same thing just happened to me. Some issue on our end. I don't know what's going on. Call back in a few minutes. Okay, call back in a few minutes. Sorry, guys. Okay, I guess I can take care of that, perhaps. So the way I can take care of that is by playing a little song. Let's do this.
This one goes out to Hake. If you can't see what's wrong,
Hold on a second.
then you won't understand this song. The world is upside down and we're living like clowns, waiting for the end to come. I could have done it better yesterday, and now I'm gonna have to pay. I'm living in sin, I'm looking within. Hell is in the place I'm in. God is always on your side if you let go of your ego and your pride. The moment is here and all will be clear. Be present and be guided by the light. Silence brings clarity. Revelation is what you'll see. The truth is in you, you'll know what to do. Stand up and love what's right. Yeah. Don't take the bait, you know that they are fake. I rest my case, there's no debate. Listen to Hake, he tells it like it should. Them posers wish they could. They roaming around in the ground, watch out, they lying now. Common networks, evil snakes, that's why we listen to Hake. Hake, the Hake News.
Okay, guys, I think that we're set here. Hopefully, I don't know, whatever. So let me try back with Meade in Virginia. Sorry, man. Are you there? No. No, still no? Oh, my bad. Oh, yeah, that's true. No, I already did that. Yeah, I just had to open it back up again. Yeah, I just forgot that I didn't do the thingy. Nice. Okay, so let me make sure. Oh, okay, good. Well, then how come it... Nice. But that wasn't the problem. Okay, so yes, sorry guys, I'll have to just read a bit of news while you guys call on back in. What a mess. And shout out to Adriana, the rapper. Silence. Boom. Complicated business. I think we can call it. Okay. So in that case, let me go over here. And if we mosey on over to the Hake report and check out the news, we will get stuff going. What's up, Tim? What's up, Nick? What's up, Court? So they're going after... okay, a little bit of news. I started to say they're going after Harvey Weinstein, but that's not really a topic of my major concern, but it's somewhat interesting. It's just another example of the injustice. Oh, you muted the things again? Yeah, thanks. Because the Me Too thing is a bunch of phoniness. It really is, in my opinion. And I think that my opinion is right. But CNN, more important than that, CNN Morning Updates, they ignored Brian Wilson's passing. Look at this. If I go over here, watch. Commie nonsense, evil snakes, neglected the singer from, look, they're showing this gal. They're showing these riot people. They're showing the Mexican flag wavers in America. They're showing the police, the burning. It's terrible. But if I search in this page, Brian, nope. Wilson, nope. Beach, boys. They talk about public beaches, but that has to do with Syria, the women having to wear burkinis. I don't care about that. That's not real news. That's over there. It's not our business. But anyway, so that's what's going on. But they covered these other people dying. You guys ever heard of these people? Okay, cool. The lines are back. You can call in. You're welcome to call in 1-888-775-3773. And some of you guys are on hold. We're getting to you. Character actor Harris Yulin died at 87. Well, at least he was relatively, that's not that old, but it's relatively old. Emmy-nominated stage and screen actor. Appeared in the TV shows Frasier and Ozark. Broadway, numerous movies, Scarface, Ghostbusters 2. Okay, Ghostbusters 2, that's not bad. Former MTV VJ Ananda, with an N, no M. Lewis, dead at 52. Well, that is news because it's young to be dying. Ananda, a fixture on MTV, far-left degenerate MTV. In the 90s, she was a fixture there. Also had her own talk show. She shared her cancer journey with Commie Nonsense Network last year. By the way, they broke into Macklemore's house. They being somebody. Seattle police investigating the incident. Macklemore being that white rapper who kisses up to the gay agenda and to blacks, as I recall. Talented actor, rapper type of a guy, though, right? Kind of catchy. But embarrassing, degenerate. A nanny was attacked during the burglary, but 3 children in the house were reportedly unharmed. Oh, he had kids? Cute. I'm missing you like mad, said a love letter from angry guy John Lennon to his first wife. Which one is that? I didn't know first wife. The 4-page missive expected to fetch more than $50,000 in an auction next month. No! The Department of Education is paying $7 million to employees who are forced to go on leave every month. Probably $7 million total. Hopefully not to each. That would be insane. Probably in total. What a mess. What a mess. I don't care about Russia. So, but there's nothing about Brian Wilson. You guys ever heard of Brian Wilson? And then I'll get to your calls. Hang tight. Meade, call back in. There's one line open. Hold a line open for Meade because I don't want to be unfair to him. Just in case, right? Just one line open for him. Brian Wilson, American musician, singer, songwriter, and record producer. Was he a Christian? I don't know. Was he a liberal? He was a musician, right? All musicians are. He was the leader of the Beach Boys, largely responsible for their revered 1966 album Pet Sounds. Beatles. Pet Sounds. Better than the Beatles? Maybe. His subsequent 2-decade-long submersion in drugs, mental health problems, controversial, psychotherapy, stuff of legend. I didn't know that. He returned to recording 1988 with a steady stream of albums combined his flawless melodic something. He was born in Inglewood, always up to no good. 6'2". He was married multiple times. Melinda Ledbetter, 95 to 2024. Wow, so what? She died or he divorced or what? Did he die of grief? In many cases, old folks, when the husband or the wife dies, the wife or the husband follows soon after, but I don't know. Marilyn Wilson-Rutherford, 1964 to 79. Were they hyphenating last names in the 60s, the mid 60s? Or what? Carney Wilson was a child, a offspring of his. What a mess, huh? I remember when he came out with that one album, Smile, that people were all excited about in like the year 2004 or 3 years, something like that. 5 maybe. Smile. I liked the beginning of it. Woo! With the harmonies and stuff. That was probably not a good impression. That's not a good impression either. But a talented guy. Rest in peace. The Beach Boys. He was my grandpa. That was my grandpa's favorite band. He liked the Beach Boys. My grandpa. Rest in peace to my grandpa. He would have been 100-something had he been alive today, but he got into his, I think, early mid-90s. Grandpa. One of my grandpas. Died at the tender age of 82. Just like Sly Stone, who died earlier this week. Another liberal, probably. I'm just calling them liberals because I say that all musicians are liberals. Wait. Is this... What? Why is it searching on Yahoo? My Chrome is searching on Yahoo. Who did this? Well, whatever. I don't care that much, but it's crazy. Google is evil. Is Yahoo evil too? I feel like it is. Okay, anyway. So that's the news. People dying. MEADE in Richmond, VA. Hopefully this works smoothly going forward. MEADE, thank you for calling back. What's up, man?
Hello there.
Hey.
Are you? Yeah. Am I on there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I hope I still have the same passion. Yeah, the demons didn't want me to speak out.
Indeed.
Thanks for taking my call. Oh, by the way, yes, Brian Wilson was a wonderful musician, way better than the Beatles. The Beatles are most overrated band in music history.
Wow.
Yeah. I just want to talk about, I have a surprising take on the LA riots and regarding Gavin Newsom and states' rights.
Okay.
So I'm very much a Trump supporter, but I'm actually I despise Gavin Newsom, but I cannot believe that I agree with him on Trump actually making things worse because California is really a lost cause, in my opinion, and no offense to you, but Trump is wasting his time and resources when he could go to red states and get rid of illegals there and make progress. What he's doing, he's trying to kick the hornet's nest, but it's really slowing down our progress. And when Gavin Newsom says that Trump is overstepping, constitutionally, I agree. I believe in states' rights, and I think that if California, let it burn if that's what it wants to do. It's not the government's responsibility; it's their issue, and we can go back later and fix the immigration in other places.
Very interesting, man. I have 2 or 3 points to bring up, both for and against your points. First, I had that coffee from the great, your friend and mine, Popcorn's Thump Keg, our fellow Christian. I think he's black, or she could be an AI, but identifies as black. And Popcorn's Thump Keg said, I thought you believed in states' rights, Hake, but not when Trump wants to send the National Guard against the will of the governor. And I didn't know this, but the Democrats keep citing this, I don't know if it's 10th Amendment or some portion of the Constitution that says the president cannot send the National Guard without the consent of the governor. And I was like, well, whatever, it's just it's called the National Guard, dude, because I don't know the Constitution. And I heard on a competitor's report, played on the Jesse Lee Peterson show by, it was a Jesse Waters clip, in which you are right, every instance cited by Jesse Waters of states' rights being overruled, the National Guard being sent in against the will of the governor, has been a violation of southern states' rights. It has been a forcing of like integration and black so-called civil rights and rebellions and one of the rebellions I didn't know about, but it had to do with like after the Civil War and during the so-called civil rights movement type of thing. So
the Whiskey Rebellion, maybe.
Maybe it might have been. I think that could have been it. You can go back on. I think it was yesterday that JLP played the Jesse Waters segment that talked about this whole thing. That basically told what's going on.
Yeah.
So I'm not really for forcing civil rights and integration and northern rule on the states.
Yeah.
You know, so I have to acknowledge that that's somewhat of a point. That's a fair point.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so how about this though?
Mm-hmm.
This is showing, like you said, it's kicking the hornet's nest. Mm-hmm. That could be a very good thing. And the reason that it could be a very good thing is it's opening people's eyes, waking people up. These are not peaceful, law-abiding people who are for the illegals. They are enemies of America. There may be a lot of normies who don't really know what's going on. They would be for amnesty in general, but because after they see these riots and things, they realize that there are enemies of America and that the Democrats are on the side of the enemies of America. So while I agree with you, yeah, California has a right to burn itself, it could tactically be a very good thing to shine a bright light on the darkness in the country that Trump is doing.
Yeah, it's exposing it, definitely.
Yeah.
And Newsom, if you didn't think he was corrupt before, I mean, you could see it right there.
Yeah.
There's a saying, I saw a picture, it's a meme, and it shows these students in Little Rock, Arkansas, these white students with men with bayonets and guns at their backs, and it says, "Never forget, diversity was forced upon us at gunpoint."
Wow.
And that is very poignant because that's my argument with all these so-called conservatives that are so quick to say, send in the guards, send in the guards. The National Guard was actually based on leftist France. I believe that the National Guard was modeled after something in France. And France is not a conservative country.
Right.
But
it never was. I mean, I'm saying it never was, like I know, but
yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
So I guess my point is we have to be consistent. Now, my feeling is no. I hate what's happening in California. I hate that illegals have made it, for lack of a better word, a hellhole. But California is its own sovereign state, and it's actually, they said they could secede from the union, be its own country. I think that's my position. Is I prefer Trump would not, get involved, but perhaps it will all work. The Bible says all things work together for good.
Yeah.
So this could be something that really does wake people up. I just shudder to think. And here in Virginia, the liberals, what they have done is they have banned styrofoam cups. And people say, oh, that's great because it's for the environment. But they start with styrofoam cups. Then they're going to go after our plastic straws. And before you know it, they're going to go after our underwear. because they don't stop. They don't stop with these draconian bans on everyday life. And our governor, who's supposed to be Republican, is too busy ribbon cutting the new Lego factory in Chesterfield to stop this ban on styrofoam. And
You're talking about in Virginia, huh?
Yes. And my motto is, give me styrofoam or give me death. But, because it's the slippery slope. They start with this, and I can see why we're headed towards California of the East Coast because of all these little laws, that the liberals do. And I think it's a bad idea. But I know this because I have a friend who works in fast food, and they use styrofoam cups, and all of a sudden the customers are complaining because they're not allowed to use styrofoam. They have to use paper.
Wow.
So that's another thing that's happening. And there's one more thing I wanted to get to. One of your callers, Mark, I agree with him on most things, but I don't agree with him when he said that blacks were made to serve whites. That's where I kind of draw the line. I think that you can't really. That's not really biblical, I think that there's a hospitality that blacks have, and I do notice that if you go with the country blacks, they are a lot different. They're law-abiding, they're hardworking, they're not ghetto. They're very, very polite. And then some of the city blacks, there's where the people have the problem because they've been spoiled by the government, and they're very unruly. But
yeah.
I just want to make that point because normally I agree with him on everything. Like he really speaks the truth, but he carries it over into another level. And then the other guy, there was a Yankee that called you and said that the blacks were never freed.
Yes.
That's a lie. They were in the South. We had freed blacks in the South before the war. Yep. In fact, they could purchase their freedom by working in the summer. So he was off, and I'm sure he loves Abraham Lincoln and all that, but oh well. Anyway, thank you for taking my call. I'm glad I could get through. I know there's a lot of spiritual things working against us. So
that's true, man.
Yeah, well, thank you.
It's good to hear from you, Meade. I appreciate it, as always.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Wow. Okay, and Manuel in California on the line here. I'm going to try to plow through a few of your calls. Thank you, sir. Manuel, what's up?
Not much. Hey, when do you think India started being called India?
Probably when the English took over. I'm just totally guessing. I haven't ever thought about it.
Do you think before Christopher Columbus or after?
After, right? Because we colonized.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Because he called them Indians. Wait, so what are the Indies? I'm confused.
there was an area in India that they would call some people Indians.
Okay.
But the country was called Hindustan.
Hindustan?
Yeah.
So in 1492, when Columbus sailed the ocean blue, India was called Hindustan, you're saying. Right. But what about the Indies, the West Indies or whatever? Was that anything?
There was a section over there. I'm sure there was. There was a section over there that they would call some people Indians.
Okay.
And there are other names and stuff like that, but someone was telling me that the other day, and I was like, that's kind of weird. Why would they call the American Indians if the place is called Hindustan? But like I said, there's probably a little spot in that country that called each other Indians.
Yeah, so would he have known about Indians in the India area?
Sure. I'm sure.
But you raise an interesting point because I've heard people make the claim that he wasn't actually confused as to where he landed. He didn't actually think he was in India or whatever. That that Indios is what they were called, right? Because it's
right.
It's like Spanish or Italian or something. I don't know. And so I don't know whether he was confused or not. People have both claims, and they act like he's stupid, which is ridiculous. This guy,
Right.
he did something that neither you nor I nor probably most of my snooty listeners or callers could ever do. Hindustani versus Bengali. I don't know. He was looking for India, right? I don't know. I thought he was looking for a shortcut by going around the world because they thought the world was smaller than it actually is. Smaller around.
Right.
Is what I learned growing up. And so there was this whole other continent and a bunch of islands. Knowledge dies on the Hake Report. All these islands that that he ran into, that he didn't know that he was going to run into. But did he know that it was a whole new land, the new world? I don't know how long it took him to realize that. It would take you a while to realize that, I would think. Maybe.
Right. I feel like, when people say, like, oh, he didn't know where, like, obviously he didn't know where he was landing, but he wasn't dumb. He barely got a boat across the ocean. So when he's like, oh, people are always like, well, he didn't know where he was going. He was just dumb, To me, it's like, whoa, I know for sure I can't go across the ocean on my own on a boat.
That's
I
right.
get lost, guaranteed.
Yep.
I just thought that was so weird. Where did this Indian thing come from then? Maybe it did come from that, you just called them that because he saw one and they looked similar or whatever, but
yeah.
Every time I hear American Indians or like names them, it drives me nuts because that word America wasn't even a word or country.
True.
Before that. So how can you be native to something that was never around?
That's right. Yeah. Amerigo, whatever, Spoochie, something Spoochie was what the Americas were named after. And that was, I don't know. What a mess. Shout out.
Yeah. Trump can federalize the National Guard because the National Guard is like a reserve system for the military. So
he can federalize them again, meaning he can impose against the will of the governor.
The governor, right?
Is that because of precedent? Because other presidents have done it and nobody's stopped them or reprimanded them, or is it in the Constitution that he can actually do it against the governor's will and impose that?
You're asking like the white questions.
I know.
I'm like a half white.
Yeah, true. I don't know.
To
me, these are just dumb technicalities. Not dumb. Okay, not totally dumb.
They are.
But they're technicalities that when we're talking about the survival of the country, these are enemies of America who are in leadership positions of different American states and cities and towns and regions and counties, and sometimes at the federal level. Actually, most of the time at the federal level. And the one time a friend of America is trying to do something, there's nitpicking going on. Not to bash MEADE at all, because I get his point totally, but Trump is trying to.
He got a good point.
Yeah, he has. Trump is. And I kind of spoke to his point by saying that these people are voted in for the most part, I think. I mean, unless you want to argue that they're not proper voting, but there's a whole lot of not proper things that have always gone on. And by hook or by crook, they're here.
Right.
And JLP always says we get the government that we deserve, and the government's mostly evil. But you have one good guy fighting for the country, and the people are all... Only when it's against America do they want to cite the Constitution. Only when it's against America and against Trump do the liberals want to cite the Constitution.
Right.
It's
They'll step all over the Constitution until they need it to use it for themselves.
Yeah.
Then they'll be like, oh yeah, I believe in it.
Selective constitutionalists.
My whole thing with California. Go ahead.
Selective constitutionalists, like they selectively enforce the law against mostly law-abiding citizens, and then skirt the law or bend the law or look the other way for the criminals to go crazy. Go ahead.
Yeah. I understand like what you were saying about like avoid this whole mess over here. You know, this is what they want. Let them suffer. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of us normal people out here in California that are, you know, not wanting that. I'd much rather Trump come and save California. You know,
Right.
This state is going down the drain. You know, like they're shutting every oil well down. They don't want you buying gas vehicles. The only state that has smog is California, and it's a mess. And I've already gotten into that whole argument about diesels and EGR valves. Like, that's a complete waste. But at the same time, like, someone needs to come over here and save it. So I'm okay with Trump national or federalizing it
Yeah.
because they're a part of the army. They're a branch. So use them, you know. If the governors won't help us, you know, yeah, they want to save LA and San Francisco. Okay, cool. But what about the rest of California?
Yeah, exactly.
Yesterday there was a graduation at the school by me when I went to high school there, and out of 100 people, there was 10 white people.
Wow.
And when I graduated, there was 80 white people. That was 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah. It has been a major demographic change.
Right. And that's what, like, the voting systems and all this here in California, they use the illegals quite a bit. That's why they do not want them to go.
That's right.
Because without them, they can't get their votes, you know?
Yeah.
Just like when Kamala Harris won, the only state she won was when there was no voter ID required. You know, that's crazy.
Interesting. They don't care about the
Anyway.
law.
No, of course not. It's like Jesse says, power and money.
That's right. Yep.
Well, if you guys need a new host, you know, Joel ain't gonna be around. I can come by.
Nice. Thank you for the offer. Manuel, send in your...
I'm just messing.
Oh, okay. Nice.
I cuss way too much, and I wouldn't be a good fit.
That's funny. Well, right on. It's good to hear from you, though, man.
Right on. Thank you.
All right. Take care. And CJ in not Texas. Oh, CJ's not here. Oh, the lines were busy, CJ said with a super chat. Let me read a few of these super chats, guys, and then I'll get back to your calls. Shout out. There is one line open, 1-888-775-3773. CJ gave that Rumble rant over on Rumble. I mean, not CJ, but evil is still real. Stated, lines are all busy, but there is one line open now. Nice. And also, all of you are ards, R-words, etards, Ray. Don't say that word, kids. But thank you. Evil is still real. I don't deny it. I mean, I speak for myself, actually. Okay. And actually, CJ, evil is still real, encourages you all to mosey over to Rumble just as a backup in case anything ever happens to my YouTube. Well, actually, that's not why he encourages you. He just says because YouTube's kind of like the enemy of the people, whereas Rumble is a little bit more pro-free speech, so you should definitely support over there. Cesar 3 Coffees, Caesar, sup, Hake? I don't have much again, but I do want to state one thing. Do you know what Rome, Mesopotamia, the Greeks, the people of Kush and Luba, and many other civilizations that are not around have in common? They all fell due to having internal conflicts. That wasn't the sole reason, but a major contributor. Funny thing is that we, the United States, currently have multiple internal conflicts at the moment and need to get it under control before we fall faster than Luba did. How fast did Luba fall? One day I may find out. Side note, just because I don't know about something or didn't learn about it in school doesn't mean it doesn't exist. That's a dumb way of perceiving the world, says Cesar, but Mark is still one of his top favorite callers. Right on, Caesar. I agree with you. Let me double check on Streamlabs. I did see a couple from DLive. Cactus Eater Bear says, what Brian Wilson's shrink did to him was wild. I hadn't heard. I may have heard a little, but nothing stuck. I mean, precious little stuck. I vaguely kind of may have heard about him having type of, drug and mental issues, sort of. But that's interesting. I don't know that. It's not like he's some poor innocent victim, really. As JLP has warned many times, you don't just blindly trust anyone. You shouldn't anyway. I mean, you do, but you ought not. He may have blindly trusted his shrink. What kind of a liberal has a shrink? You got to be a liberal to have a shrink. A shrink is another word for psychiatrist. Am I right? Again, take everything you hear on the Hake Report with a grain of salt, because knowledge dies on the Hake Report. Hake, the ultimate victim blamer. Yes, indeed, I avow blaming the victim. The victim shares in the blame because he brought it upon himself, perhaps, by being a druggie and then having mental problems. Just be happy. I'm 1/3 kidding, but 2/3 kidding, I guess. Whatever, the percentages don't matter, or the portions don't matter. I'm curious what he did. Anyway, Indians means of God, in Dios. In Dios. Ay, Dios mío. Who? Satan? Is Satan your God? In Dios, peeps of the land. Says Cactus Eater Bear. That's what I had heard before. Cactus Eater Bear. Indios, Indians. Dios is like Spanish or maybe Italian for God. Dios. Interesting, huh? Ah. Right on. I wonder why CNN didn't mention Brian Wilson's passing. Is it because she's just empty-headed, Jade Walker? Is it because she's too young to know? She's just ignorant? Is it because he's old news? He hasn't been in the picture for a long time, in the headlines for a while? Is it? I don't know. I don't know. I also yesterday blamed to an extent Ashli Babbitt for getting herself shot because she jumped through that window. She had no business jumping through that window, you know? It's not right. Okay, cool, Nick, thanks. Right on. Right on. So I do avow victim blaming. Ashli Babbitt, and even, as we come to the 1-year somber anniversary, I guess, right? Or as it already passed. Our former resident historian, Asmodor, died like about a year ago. And I'm like, had he turned himself in and faced whatever injustice was going to be wrought against him in the courts, there's lawsuits and bench warrant because he didn't show up to court or whatever, and lawsuit over the Charlottesville mess, trying to blame him for for the failures and purposeful failures, I guess, perhaps, of the local authorities over there not separating the people, Antifa and Black Lives Matter, from the whites who had the right to protest there. he got in trouble for stuff or something. And so he was on the run and hiding. Had he turned himself in and faced all that, maybe he would have, taken care of been freer to take care of some medical issues that he didn't pay proper attention to. And then he died in hiding, So that's you can't blame the state for something that he did just because he didn't want to face the state. Well, maybe they would have let him languish in jail and die anyway. Maybe, but it makes more sense, I think, to face the injustice. I think. Terrible. Yeah, already a year. Asmodor, did he do anything wrong at that protest? It was a total setup. Rest in peace, Asmodor and Ashli Babbitt and Brian Wilson. Where are they now? You guys are terrible. All right, so yeah, I do victim blame. No victims. Ashli, Az, and the rest. I wonder if he would agree with me on any level, or what. But he was having like the symptoms of a heart attack, I'm told. His leg hurting super bad, according to like the people who were listened to his final stream. Man, what a mess. He was getting healthier again, too. Terrible. Now our resident historians are, I forget, but people who sometimes call in. Maybe Daniel in Texas. Daniel in Texas found me through Asmodor. Nice. Okay, Alex in California is on the line over here. Let me get back to the calls here. I'll get to the rest of your supers later. Alex, thank you for calling and holding, man. What's up?
Hey, how you doing?
Doing well. How are you?
Good. So I just want to name my subjects because I'll forget them right now with my brain.
Okay.
I want to respond to Mark about his prayer, Ashli Babbitt, and then I want to talk about the protests real quick.
Cool.
Okay. So let me get Mark out of the way. We all love Mark. I love Mark. Yesterday he kind of shocked me a little bit though. With the Ashli Babbitt thing, like we definitely shoot trespassers, right?
Yeah, people do. That's true.
I thought that was like the thing to do.
You have a right to do that. I think maybe not in some states, but yeah, I mean sometimes trespassers are they do risk their life because you don't know what.
Like generally speaking, in the majority of America, that's the okay thing to do. I'm thinking,
or at least historically it was. I mean, people you risk your life because they don't know who you are or whether you're armed or not, and all kinds of stuff. And it was a madhouse in there. In that,
and I mean, maybe there is some sort of factor or technicality. He could be correct when it's a federal building or whatever, but
yeah,
it just I don't know. To me, that sounded kind of liberal. But
yeah,
I'm a musician, so there's that.
True.
The other thing was the prayer. Was that like a custom prayer that he did?
That was a customized prayer that started off with the Lord's Prayer and then did the Hail Mary thing because he's Catholic. And then he added in just the naming off recognition and prayer for / appreciation for the white forefathers and different people.
Okay.
Yeah.
'Cause I've never heard the Hail Mary thing before. I was raised in a Methodist church.
Okay. Yeah. I've heard it a little bit, but I was raised normal Christian too, like not Catholic.
Because I was kind of doing the prayer in my head along with him, and I'm like, forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And then I'm like, and lead us not into temptation, deliver us from evil, for thine is the kingdom, power, glory forever, amen, yada, yada.
Yeah.
And then he went into like Hail Mary. I'm like, wait a minute. And so what's going on here? Was I taught wrong? Was I taught the black and gay version as a Methodist?
Not necessarily. I mean, Methodists, Hillary Clinton isn't Methodist. So that's one strike against you. But it doesn't necessarily mean that all Methodists are missing something. I think that the Catholics added something about Hail Mary because it's not something that Jesus taught that I heard. So
yeah, I've never heard that. I went to church till I was like 13.
Yeah.
And then
the Catholics,
and I don't follow along with what my parents are.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, just the Catholics pray to Mary. That's what's going on.
Okay. So I know that my parents are still pretty knee deep in it. Their church is super gay, and they have a female preacher and everything.
Man, terrible.
Yeah, it's blasphemous.
Wow.
And they're not really too into Jesus, and I know my dad really hates Paul.
Wow.
I remember I talked to you about that a while back. I guess because Paul was pretty based.
Yeah, he was not for women speaking, and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I mean, I've forgiven my parents. Basically, like the forgive your parents thing, I've had to do it politically.
Yeah,
because they honestly they haven't really done much wrong by me in my life. Like, honestly, like even if I was talking to Jesse, I'd say that. But yeah, I had to forgive them, for being liberals, basically.
That's funny.
Is that wrong or?
No, I mean it's well. There may be something deeper that you just haven't realized yet, I guess, because the fact that you're irritated at their lame politics indicates something wrong with you because there's no reason to be irritated at people's wrong politics,
Well,
even though it's destructive to the country. So it is interesting.
Right. I've actually shifted. Like when I say forgive, that means I don't get irritated anymore.
Nice. Yeah, exactly. And that is good. But the fact that you were indicates that there was something wrong in your way of thinking and being, and I don't know. It just there's no reason.
I recognize it now.
Yeah.
Like the other day I was visiting him, and they had CNN ripping on the TV, and I guess the tanks were rolling into LA, and my dad's like, this a-hole is rolling in the tanks now, and I just held my tongue. It's like, dude, there's a reason for it,
right?
Like,
I didn't know there were tanks.
I'm not going to start fights with my parents when I'm visiting them, but it's like, okay, if I was a young male out there doing that, like, would you be proud of me? It's like,
it's a good question. Yeah.
So it's strange to me in a sense that the liberal propaganda from the TV still works on these people, but they're freaking hopeless, man.
Yeah.
It's kind of sad when it's your friends and family.
You're raising such an interesting point. I almost started to bring up flat earthers, but you're sort of were/are.
I just don't care about it anymore.
Yeah, but my point in almost bringing it up because I've done it now, is people believe all kinds of wildly different and crazy things, and some of them are of a really bad consequence for the country in the case of like these liberals voting in their self-destruction, of course. And but just because it's of bad consequence doesn't mean that it should necessarily be something we're sad about. I get it, or irritated or annoyed. I get it, but it's also there's something wrong with us being distressed at people's blindness.
Yeah, and until it comes to a point where maybe it physically affects us or financially and everything.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely want to protect yourself. Sense. Yeah. I mean, there sometimes could be a point in questioning them a little, but you definitely don't want to get into a fight with them. Or at least to where you're fighting with them. They may fight against you a little, but you don't fight with them back.
Yeah. Well, last two things with the LA riot. Obviously, I'm totally against it. I think it's ridiculous. But in my direct contact, I have in my hotel business, we have a handful of housekeepers. We actually only lost one before Trump came in.
Oh, okay.
But all the other ones got their citizenship before he came in.
Yeah.
And I actually helped one of them. My job wasn't very hard, but I just helped her by asking her like the 100-question test that she had to do, and just kind of drilling her.
Oh, for her citizenship test?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I was super proud of her because she did it the right way. And it's like you see these other scummy Mexicans out there just making them look bad,
Yeah.
And it's just like with the blacks, like they have their unfortunate bad characters that one bad apple spoils a bunch. It's kind of the same what's going on right now.
Right. Yeah. It's
So,
it's so and the children, you may notice, I've noticed. You grew up amongst a bunch of Mexicans and Hispanics are
Yep.
worse than the parents. The parents are, although they may be illegal, they're humbler, more respectful of the police, at least in my experience. And I don't know, they may still be liberal and fall for like Obama and stuff, but they are just the children are like everything that's wrong with our generation is wrong with their children. So they're Americanized in like the worst way, and they also disrespect the police and think they're as corrupt as theirs back home and stuff. What do you
I'm
say?
going to have to put the blame of that on the Mexican moms. They're some of the angriest. I mean, black moms and Mexican moms, angriest moms I've ever dealt with in my life.
Wow.
Like some of my friends, are good guys. I mean, they make mistakes. We're all teenagers that made mistakes and stuff, but
right.
Their moms would just freaking go insane. And it's like the dad would be more the cool-headed, reasonable one. So, yeah, there's that. Yeah, I don't want to waste too much time. My Australian friend who is new to watching you, he has a request that you Google. There was 3 people shot by blacks in Australia recently, and he says that's like that's like seeing a falling star or something. Never happens.
Wow. Is this like a mass shooting or just like...
Yeah, mass shooting in Australia. I guess they've had a few of those lately with blacks and Arabs.
And it was by multiple blacks in Australia shooting 3.
I believe, I'm going to assume so, yeah.
Okay, well, thank you for the story tip, man. And shout out to your Australian friend. That's the one who came up with the thing about if all whites left?
Well, yeah, it was a 50-50 between us, but yeah, I'll give him a little bit of credit.
Nice. Right on, man.
All right, y'all have a good show.
All right. You as well. I mean, you have a good day.
Thanks.
Take care. Nice. Wow. Yes, there are lots of snake pits. It's the pits. There is one line open, 1-888-775-3773. I'd like to get to a little bit more because I didn't actually talk about really anything other than, that one guy dying, or those few people dying. Good news. There's going to be a military parade in D.C. That's kind of exciting. I kind of see the Trump is doing his thing, and they are ankle biters. They, being the liberals, are ankle biters. Trump is having his we're coming up on the 250 years of America as we go down the tubes, but Trump is doing what he can, for the country. And they have this phony thing that the mainstream, I wouldn't have heard about it had it not been for the mainstream media and the BitChute chat. This No Kings protest. Here, where are we over here? Nationwide protests against the immigration crackdown. So they've ignored immigration laws and they've been happy about it for some reason. And now all of a sudden they call it Trump acting like he's a king because he's finally enforcing the immigration laws. No kings, because they're acting like Trump, I guess, is a king. Is that what their idea is? 1,800, more than 1,800 no kings events. That's the crowd. Ankle biters. They're trying to compete with Trump's rally. They're doing it on the same day. Ooh, we outnumber Trump. Anytime there is and look at these guys who are trying to block. Look at these degenerate meat packing employees blocking ICE cars with their bodies. There's a woman there, I think. That's a woman, right? See this gal? And then there's a man with a hat there trying to block this truck from going. Man, I have a predisposition currently to where I do not like the idea of somebody getting run over in a car, you know? Sorry, kids, faint of heart, ladies. And so when I see that type of situation, I'm like, ah. You know how you're not supposed to stop nor swerve for animals in the street? Especially small animals, at least. I don't know. You don't want to hit a deer or a moose or something. But, because those can really mess up your car. But like a cat or a squirrel or a chipmunk or a bird or whatever, you're not supposed to swerve because you become a traffic hazard. But what about people? Like, you don't want to hurt a person. A lot of people will stop or swerve or whatever for animals and sometimes get themselves in trouble. Much more so with people. You don't want to, but there's people who are just, sometimes you can't really stop because they'll like hit your car and try to do something crazy. James Alex Fields ran into the crowd in the Charlottesville thing. That's partly probably why Asmodor got in trouble, because he's the one who kind of like, he's one of the people who helped organize the rally. So they're trying to hold him responsible for something that somebody else did, right? Ridiculous. Evil lawyer liars, scum of the earth. But aren't we all liars and the scum of the earth? A shout out. It's just lawyers are just more obvious about it. It's kind of like you guys hating the Jews. You're the same thing. Shout out. Or criticizing them. Like, you don't realize that you hate them. But look at that. It's like, okay, you're trying to aid and abet that's called lynching. When you're trying to interfere with an arrest, it's called lynching. There's this black gal who was arrested for lynching several years back, a Black Lives Matter gal who tried to interfere with an arrest of some fellow black. And she was called lynching. They called it lynching. I'd never heard of that term being used for what she was trying to do, interfere with an arrest. I guess it's when you take them from the proper authorities into your control. Whatever. Terrible, though, huh? No kings. So it's just... the dumb crowd caught up like they know what they're talking about. I clearly, as you know, don't know what I'm talking about, but they really don't know what they're talking about. To protest the administration's actions. On Saturday, the same day as Trump's military parade. Protesters should be prepared to be met with a show of force. They talk about, oh, we need to be able to protest. What good does it do? I saw this on it does nothing good. And it has never made any sense to me, except for, fun. I've had fun sometimes. Watch. Many demonstrations against, listen, this is from Far Left AP. Many demonstrations against ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency, formed in probably during the Bush administration, Bush administration, I think, around that time. I could be wrong. And the demonstration, while here's AP kissing up far left extremists. While the demonstrations have been peaceful, many of them have been peaceful, with marchers, listen to this, chanting slogans and carrying signs. Thank you, AP, for pointing out how ridiculous they are. And look, stupid. Doesn't do anything. It's just stupid, silliness, woman stuff. Others have led to clashes with police, hundreds of arrests, and the use of chemical irritants to disperse crowds. I heard one Latina gal who recorded the arrest of some guy who allegedly assaulted police officers, and they found him, and they kind of blocked his car, stopped his car, crashing into it partially, like gently with one truck, and then in the back with the other. They sacrificed their car's body, non-dented body, let it dent their car a little bit, cutting off this guy and arrested him with guns drawn while his wife or child's mother, perhaps, I guess. I don't know. Mother and kid were in the car, newborn baby supposedly in the car. And this woman is like, we're using our amendment rights. She doesn't even know that it's a first, or acknowledge that it's she doesn't know what she's talking about. She's just saying, we're using our amendment rights. But this guy allegedly hit the cops or assaulted them or something. It was a citizen, Latino. Hundreds of arrests, the use of chemical irritants to disperse the crowds. Did they acknowledge that the January 6ers were mostly peaceful? No, they did not. If you look back on the coverage of the Tea Party Patriot rallies, which were just a bunch of, little feel-good white and also kind of diverse, actually, but white mostly, because the country's mostly white, and they're the more sensible ones per capita, politically speaking, except for Alex's parents. Did they say, oh, the Tea Party, mostly peaceful? No, they said mostly white. I guess that means mostly peaceful, but no, to them it means mostly racist. So no, they didn't call the January 6ers mostly peaceful because they were, but they didn't want to acknowledge it. Dumb. The Charlottesville stuff. I talked about Charlottesville. Asmodor was there. The majority of the violence was definitely initiated by the alt-left, as Trump rightly said. But no, they didn't call the whites mostly peaceful. They called it a violent riot in Charlottesville 8 years ago. What a mess. During Trump's first term. Of course they're liars. Of course they're liars. Expect to be lied about. If you're not lied about, what are you even doing? People have been saying, oh, Rome, it's the fall of Rome. And some may be saying it in a celebratory way, and some may be saying it in a lamenting way. I've been thinking about it since Obama, since I started paying attention somewhat to politics more. Rome, they've turned more gay, they say, perhaps. Some people don't think that's necessarily true. But they were into, like, entertainment and they got more diverse. They lost what it meant to be Roman, and it's like the fall of Rome, fall of America, sliding away. And probably the boomers and older people have been thinking about it lately. We've been thinking about Rome. Romans were Italians. But it's just the similar thing, because they say about the fall of Rome. Rome, America, Luba, whatever Luba is, was, like Caesar said, it's horrible. Anyway, I do appreciate you callers hanging on. I must, if I have any decency in my bones, get to Rob in NorCal. He was one of the callers left on hold. Rob, one of my flat earth friends / fiends. What's up, man?
What's going on, Hake?
Hey.
Appreciate you taking my call.
Of course.
Yeah. Been trying to get in for a couple of weeks now, man.
I know.
Busy, which is good, man.
Right on.
Yeah. That's good for you. So I want to touch on one thing you said a couple Fridays ago, where you said you have trouble explaining the globe to us, flat earthers.
Yeah.
And it's funny that you say that, because all flat earthers used to believe in the globe. So we understand exactly what you're trying to say to us.
Oh, you do?
So, yeah, we're not. Yeah, we didn't just fall off of the Apple truck,
on Friday, got frustrated. I think it was Friday. I got frustrated with my friend and yours. What's his name? One of the William the Seventh, number 7. Because I was asking him, when I look at this beautiful horizon that indicates the big beautiful ball, does it look like it just drops off, or does it look like it just gets tinier and tinier and tinier, and then you can't see anything? Which does it look like to you on a naked eye glance? Which does it look like to you?
It looks like I just can't see far enough. It looks like it just stops. Like it looks like the sky and the water just come together.
And has it always looked that way to you, or did it used to look like it dropped off?
No. I used to have this is what's called confirmation bias.
Right.
You've been told something, and then you kind of your mind kind of plays a trick on you and says that you see something. Because I used to think that I see before I was a flat earther, I would look from left to right on the ocean, and I would I almost thought I saw a curve that way, because that would be a further distance than the amount of distance that I could see just straight away from me. But after all the stuff that I've researched on it, I've realized that that's like a confirmation bias. Like you've been told that it's a globe since you were 5 years old, so that's what you want to see in your head. But if you're to hold like a yardstick up to it, it'd be flat,
But you're not. Do you think that you would expect? Do you think that you should expect to see a curve from left to right?
Well, this was before I knew about the mathematics of it all. But I was in my head. I thought that I was on a ball as well.
But answer my question.
I would even,
do you now expect that you should have seen or should see a curve moving from left to right across the horizon?
I don't know exactly how far from left to right I can see, but what I can tell you is that
but answer my question.
Yeah.
Yes, you should see a curve from moving from when you look from left to right.
I don't know. I think in the globe model, it could be big enough where you don't, even if hypothetically it was a globe.
Right.
But before I did all this, I thought that, yes, I thought that you should be able to see a little bit of a curve.
Because as a layman who doesn't know anything, when I physically turn my head from facing south or west or whatever, and then I turn and I face east or north or whatever, and I'm looking across the whole. I'm standing at the edge of the shore. I'm standing at the shore, and I'm looking. I feel like I'm detecting a curve, but it could just be my knowledge that it's obviously a globe, and so I'm thinking that I'm seeing a curve, right? So I get you. I get you. The confirmation bias thing.
Yeah.
But that's not what I look for when I look at the horizon. When I'm looking at the horizon, I'm looking that I'm looking out and right here in my immediate vicinity, it's of course flat, but it's starting to curve down, and then it just drops off. And as I mentioned to you before, I'm looking at this big, beautiful sunset, and the big ball sun that's about the same size as the moon, you guys point out sometimes, is not getting smaller and smaller as you guys claim that it's getting further away. Stuff that gets further away gets smaller and smaller, but rather than getting smaller, it's dipping below the obvious horizon, globe, ball, earth horizon, spinning big, beautiful ball made by God, not Satan. Horizon. And so it's coming from a full circle to a half circle to a little piece of a circle. And then pretty soon it dips below the horizon and it's gone. And I know that you sent me the email, and I'm remiss. I got to check your email. But because you claim, and it doesn't make any sense to me, and this was at 4:46 p.m. on Sunday, the 15th of December that I looked at. in Santa Monica, California. And it doesn't make sense to me that you think that you can zoom in and bring the sun back into view. Like, it makes so much more sense with the colors changing and the ball sun staying about the same size in appearance that you guys are telling me not to trust my lying eyes. And you're
no, we're telling you to trust. Do trust your eyes. Trust
but
your eyes. It's not
my
your brain.
my eyes are showing me that it's dipping below the beautiful horizon.
Yeah.
Because the Earth is spinning. I mean, according to the model, the model that I'm presented with by NASA, which means lies, makes perfect sense to me. That it's a big, beautiful ball spinning. But you're telling, and you guys, not you personally, but you guys bring up, oh, you ball-tards say that we can see further than 3 miles because of refraction. You guys bring in this fake refraction thing, but then other people, you flat earthers or spinning ball deniers, I'll call you.
Okay.
So you bring in, oh, this is just because of refraction that it looks like the sun is dipping below the horizon. So you guys are bringing in refraction when you can't explain it.
No, it's not refraction. The circumference of your vision is set at like 6 miles or something like that, right? That's why
circumference is not the right word, right?
No, the circumference would be like a circle around you that no matter where you are, that's as far as your eyes can see. Like, your eyes just don't have the capabilities of seeing past a certain.
So we can't see past 6 miles?
Something like that. It's like 6.5 miles, I think.
No, that can't be true. Because the sun is further than 6 miles, right?
It does get further than 6 miles, and that's why you can't see it. That's why the sky is going down. Like when you look at you look at telephone poles on a flat plane.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
The telephone poles are all the same size, all the same height, but they continue to go down. And eventually, you can't see telephone poles past that, but you know that there's more telephone poles.
Right. I get you. But that gets fuzzy. It doesn't get to like a fine point, right? It gets into like a fuzziness down there.
Yeah.
Whereas this is just a perfectly crisp, beautiful ball Earth horizon line.
Camera.
Not just camera, but I'm talking about the line. It's like a crisp thing. I get that it's whatever.
I don't think fuzzy is the right word for it. What I'm saying is that's the line of how far you can see. So that's why when you look at the P,
you're making this up. I think we can
videos,
see further than 6.5 miles, man. What in the world?
Well, the P1000 can. I mean,
we human beings can see further than 6.5 miles. Or is stuff so small?
Not out.
Like the sun. How big is the sun in your model, or do you know?
We think it's about the same size as the moon, but we don't claim to know.
Do you have an estimate for how big the moon is?
I don't know. I don't think so. We don't claim stuff like that. What we do is we try to go out and prove stuff that the Globers claim.
Right.
And then when we can't prove that, then we say, well,
cool.
Why doesn't that work? You know? So like the algebraic equation of the curvature, according to the Globers, is 8 inches per mile squared. So that means for every mile,
go ahead.
You square it and multiply it by 8, and that's the amount of inches that you wouldn't be able to see. Like if you were looking from way far away at like the Golden Gate Bridge, you would multiply how far away you are by, or you would square it and then multiply it by 8, and then that's the amount of inches that you shouldn't be able to see the bottom of the Golden Gate Bridge. But when we go out to these distances and we test those numbers, it's never true. That's never how it is. We can see more than they say that we can, and we shouldn't be able to see it if we were on a beach ball, right? Because the curve would be consistent.
You know,
to those numbers.
I feel you're making me feel a little black because I don't understand the 8 inches per mile squared. You know, because
Yeah.
I get that it's kind of like
Well,
a
see, that's-
parabola, right? It's that
Well,
equation is a parabola, not a sphere. But like,
well, it's geometry. It's the algebraic equation of a geometric shape. But that's one of my other points is that Glover's, they have all these ideas that were so stupid, but we actually know a lot more about your model oftentimes than you do, you know? So it's
right.
It's frustrating on both ends. Like there's that equation that nobody will ever bring up. There's the celestial
well,
navigation
everybody,
of it.
all of you guys bring up the 8 inches per. Well, a couple of you guys have brought up this. Okay, so every if I'm 56 inches off the ground, say I don't have my tape measure on me. I used to carry it all the time everywhere. Now it's in my drawer. So if I'm 8 times. Well, let's say my eyes are 5 foot up.
Yeah.
Or 6 feet up. How many?
Yeah.
5 feet.
6
5
foot
times
4,
8
right,
is
Hake?
5. Huh?
Your eyes are 6'4".
No. Well, whatever.
Yeah.
Let's say. Well, they say that you can see about 3 miles if you're 6 feet above the sea level. You can see out about 3 miles, and then you can't see further than 3 miles, they say.
Okay.
But if you're any higher than that, you can see further and further and further.
Yeah, according to the globe model.
Both, really, right?
But well, sort of. For a flat Earth model, we just think we could see as far as we can see, kind of in general.
Where did you get? I've never heard that you can only see 6.5 miles away.
I don't know the exact number on that. My
but
point
where
is
did you
that
get
it's a limited.
Do you remember?
My point is, you can just do a quick Google. How far can the average eyeball see, or something like that? And that
but the average eyeball can see, like, if the thing is big enough and bright enough, we can see stars in the sky. And those stars, the sun is 92 million miles away or something like that, or maybe that's the moon or something.
Well, according to you,
yeah.
we think the stars are lights in the dome. And actually, if you use that same P1000 I was talking about, and you zoom in on those stars, they don't look like the stars that you think they should look like. They just look like little swirling light patterns.
Yeah, because they're twinkling.
There's this
twinkle, twinkle, little star.
Well, because they're in God's dome in the water up there. Those are different, like.
Reese's vids brings up a great point, which I don't know if it's true, but I suspect it might be true. He says 99% of the time these dummies are debunked by factoring in height from above sea level. Is that true?
For which side?
For the flat earthers claiming that they see like 50 miles or 250 miles or 300 miles away. But it's debunked because you guys are higher up. The higher up, the further you see.
Well, yeah, but according to the globe model, no matter what, you would still hit this curve where you wouldn't be able to see behind it. You would be able to see a little further, higher, but at some point you would still hit a curve.
Yeah.
But see, we do the measurements by looking on like just maps and seeing how far something is, right? And then we do the calculation on that, and then they take these cameras, these P1000s, and then they just zoom in, and they just see further than the math that the globe model is based on tells us that we should see, even with the height. So I mean, they do all these experiments with cameras, and they show you how high they are. They have an altimeter, and then they show you how far this should be. They show you how much of this mountain that's like 100 miles away or whatever you should see. But when you zoom, it's like you can't see it by the naked eye. But when you zoom in with this P1000, you can just see further than a ball will let you see.
How do you know?
Because they do the math on it.
I know, but the math may be inaccurate. So how do you know that you couldn't see it on a ball? Or your math may be, or their math may be incorrect or whatever. They may not be factoring. Yeah, the globe math.
So if
No, the people who are crunching crunching the globe math numbers and stuff, because Alex in California too has said, "Oh, the math doesn't really make sense, the globe Earth math." I've never looked into the math at all,
Well,
and
no, see, well, that's what we're testing. We're
I know,
testing
but
the
how do you
globe
know?
math.
How do you know that the globe math is correct? How do you know that it wouldn't work on a ball? Because the globe math is talking about no accounting for refraction, for example.
Yeah, refraction is a globe.
And how about diffraction?
Talking point.
No, it's not just a globe. It is a globe talking point, but it's also a flat Earth talking point.
The flat Earth side of it is generally
the flat Earth side of let me make sure that you understand what I'm saying. I brought up that the flat Earthers think that the sun obviously setting just so clearly over the water like this, getting a ball disappearing behind a line, the horizon line. You guys explain that away as refraction. That's what you guys have, not you personally, but other people have called in and told me that's refraction, that it's an illusion that the ball is disappearing behind the horizon line. It's just getting further away.
Yeah, I don't believe it's refraction. I believe that it's generally called ether, but there's molecules in the air, right? And oxygen is heavier than helium, so those molecules are falling and packing in closer towards the ground. So you're looking through. It's like looking through if you were to have like a 4-inch thick glass, right?
Yep.
And the top of it, like you're on a plane, you're looking through the top of it, and you can see right through it because you're only looking through 4 inches.
Yeah.
But the glass itself is like, a mile long. You're not going to be able to see through that glass, even though it's glass.
Interesting.
So that's kind of like all the.
But that's not
like
what
all
happens
the
with the sun. The sun just drops. It drops. You're not describing a drop. You're describing a fading and fading. Whereas the sun doesn't fade, it just drops.
Yeah, but that's just perspective based on your limited vision. There is this graph that shows it. Like, it's easier to explain it. I have to find that graph and I'll send it to you and Derek. But it's basically just a graph on how far somebody can see.
I know,
so
but
like, no matter where you are.
But you're not explaining the sun dropping. Can you explain the sun dropping?
Yeah, it's perspective. It's like railroad tracks going up until you can't see the railroad tracks. Or the telephone poles going down.
But the sun doesn't shrink to a point. What you're describing is where the sun might shrink to a point, but it doesn't.
Yeah,
it drops.
Okay. So say the sun is like 30.
It stays the same size as the moon, like you guys point out, basically.
Yeah.
And then it just disappears behind the horizon because we're a spitting obvious ball.
Yeah, but it doesn't change that much in size with our limited eyesight, because it's even though it's going 3 miles away, 3 miles to something that's, say 1,000 feet in diameter isn't really that much. It's just going further than you can see. It's not. If you could see forever and ever, like if we could see from here to China.
You guys
it would turn into a point.
No, you guys have likened it to that doesn't make sense, man. The reason that you guys have likened it to a person walking away from you holding a flashlight, and the flashlight, the light on the flashlight gets dimmer and dimmer and smaller until it's just a faded point. I could imagine that happening, right? I could imagine that happening.
Yes.
But that's not what that's not what I'm looking at that's not what the parallel is when the sun is disappearing, dropping below the horizon.
Yeah,
it's
the sun's like 1,000 times bigger than the flashlight.
Right, but it's not even getting any smaller. It's literally just dropping.
Sun compared to but the size of the sun compared to your limited vision.
Why is the
different
line
than the size of a flashlight?
Why is it dropping below the horizon?
why do the telephone poles appear to go below the horizon when they're all the same size?
They start to look smaller and smaller.
Correct.
But the sun does not look smaller and smaller. It just drops.
Yeah, because it's huge. Because it's bigger.
I know,
than
but
telephone poles.
it comes from exactly. Because it's like but it's a big old beautiful ball, and then it's like a half ball, and then it's a section of a ball. It doesn't make any sense what you're trying to claim. I see you working. I get it. It makes sense. It makes sense on the confusion, but I think the perspective aspect of it, and so the ratio of our vision to the sun is greater than the ratio of our vision to a flashlight. So that's where the example is off. But like, say you add the P1000 into it, then the ratio to the size of the sun to the ratio of the distance that a P1000 can see, you do see like more of a sun getting smaller effect as it goes away. So like with the camera that can't see, at midnight, can you pull in the sun?
At midnight?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's pretty far. That's super far.
How about a P1 million? With a P1 million, can you bring in the sun? You guys make no sense.
They don't have they don't have a P1 million. If they did, I'd get one though.
Well, fun. I don't know if anybody else is having fun, but I had fun talking with you. I got to run. We've been talking for 22 minutes.
One more quick thing. Wilkington dragged flat earthers into his like bad debater things with talking about fallacies.
Okay.
And your guys' belief in the globe is a fallacy, which is called appeal to authority.
But that's it's not. I don't appeal to authority. I appeal to what's obvious. Look at this.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't appeal to authority.
Well,
yeah.
Okay.
So I don't believe it's not because of NASA necessarily. I grant that I was raised in this, so I do have a whatever.
Yeah, I mean, the time that they introduced you guys to the globe was the same time you thought the tooth fairy was real, bringing you guys cash for your teeth.
Don't touch the tooth fairy, man.
Sorry, man, tooth fairy's real. I'm not gonna break that one for you.
Sorry, kids. I disavow.
All right, brother. I appreciate you.
All right, thank you, Rob, in NorCal.
All right, thank you.
Take care.
Yes, sir.
Bye.
All right, you too. Bye-bye.
And Christian in Cali, I'm going to have to plow through the rest of your callers. No respect. Christian in Utah, what's up, man?
Hey, how's it going, man?
Hey, going well. Thank you.
Hey, I was just wondering if you've ever dabbled or read into the Nag Hammadi library for the Gnostic Gospels.
The what?
Have you ever read or heard of the Gnostic Gospels of Jesus?
I've heard of the Gnostic I've heard of Gnosticism before. People accuse different people of being Gnostics. But no, I haven't gotten into any of that stuff. I've read the Bible and that's about it.
What do you have you actually dabbled into just the Gospels in the regular Bible by chance?
Of course, yeah. I read the whole Bible, and I've read the Gospels probably a couple of times each or more in different places, and I read the letters and all that.
What's your favorite Gospel?
I don't have a favorite at this time.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Do you have a favorite?
I've been no, I just kind of been reading through those, and then the King James Version, as well as I've been researching and just reading through these so-called Gnostic Gospels, they're called. And I guess I don't know if I'm correct, but I think Gnosticism in this gospel aspect is more of hidden things or things that we're taking out of the Gospels in the regular Bible. And I just find some of them very interesting. Last night I was
of course there's always going to be interesting stuff written by all kinds of interesting people.
Yeah.
You could read anything and find it very interesting, man.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. I can be talking with a flat earther and about flat earth stuff and find something interesting and sometimes even true in what he
Yeah.
says, even though he's like totally wrong about his conclusion.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's I'm just kind of like reading them recently and like not really holding on to it, but just kind of taking it eye for eye.
But I don't think that stuff was taken out of the Bible, because there was no Bible until like they decided what to put in it, I think. And then there were some things that were either added in or taken out. But I don't think that any of that Gnostic stuff was ever in there in the first place. It was maybe accepted as scripture by some, quote unquote, but I have no idea whether it ever was accepted as scripture by whoever. And it's interesting to ponder people's decision on this is authoritative, this is real, this is not. It's interesting. The Bible itself is kind of an appeal to man's authority, if you think about it. Because there was a bunch of men who studied a lot, and presumably some of them wanted to be honest. I don't know what are the chances that all of them were honest and true and God inspired to decide that these are the ones that should be included in the authoritative Bible. But if you think about it, you can say, God oversaw it. But does God really oversee the dealings of people? How much does he guide the hands of the people who do different things that are supposedly authoritative? There are people who say that the Constitution in America was the hand of providence was upon them and they did it perfectly. Or did they? I don't know. So that's kind of how I see stuff right now. Meaning I don't see. I don't know. Yeah, I can totally see where you're coming from on that. Why are you searching the scriptures?
I just think it's interesting because I was going to bring up this point of, like, I was reading the Gospel of Mary last night on the Gnostic forum. So I don't know.
And why?
I just found it interesting,
I know, but I find stuff interesting, but why?
I don't know. I really don't.
Are you searching for the truth still?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
And so you haven't found the truth, to your knowledge. You don't think that you've found the truth?
No, I don't believe so.
And so you're searching on what other people have written.
No, not necessarily. I just kind of like listen to the Gospels and just take it word by word. And all I was gonna say was I kind of see like how on fellowship mornings Jesse is kind of like telling us all these things with like anger and just how we need to let go of this and let go of that and just be more spiritual in a sense. And what I was taking from these Gospels is kind of comparable. I know it's not good to compare, but it's just interesting. Like hearing some of these Gnostic Gospels is kind of like.
Do you do that? I don't really want to hear more about this stuff because I don't know about it. Do you do that already though?
Do what?
Do you drop the anger and all that stuff? Have you done that?
No, I just see it when it comes up. I can't really say if I would ever get angry again or not.
Right.
But yeah, I just try to watch it, and yeah, I really do just try my best. Yeah, and I was just going to ask if I could share, but
no, yeah, I don't want to promote something that I don't even know anything about. Like you're calling in saying, "Oh, it's similar to what Jesse says," and Gospel of Mary doesn't sound right. Man, it was supposedly written by Mary. I don't know. I think though that it could be a folly that you're falling into.
Yeah, could be.
searching out knowledge and stuff. And
Yeah, you may
because
be right.
don't you notice that you don't stick with what you know?
I really don't know anything, to be honest. I kind of just take word for word and see things for as they are.
So you take what people say,
No.
but what do you mean go by word for word?
I listen to what people have to say, and I'll read things, but I don't just say, "Oh yeah, that's what it is." I kind of just have a wait and see, like Jesse always says.
How old are you again, Christian?
I'm 29.
29.
Yes, sir.
And you haven't found what you're looking for?
No, I have not found God.
And you're praying consistently without ceasing?
I am trying my best to stay aware, but I do go unconscious, sir.
Yeah. Big time.
Big time, yeah.
Huh. And you don't know why you're reading all these things, other than that it's interesting and it's kind of jibing with what you've heard Jesse say, and what Jesse says rings true to you.
Yes, sir.
And what this is saying, in some ways, rings true to you.
Yes, sir. Yeah,
that could become like a pastime type of a thing, rather than living life.
Yeah, you can make a point there. I mean, you do make a point. I'm sorry. Yeah, I most of my life I have, I don't know. I have never really pursued God, and within the past few years, I've just tried to intellectually know Him.
Yeah.
And read about certain things, hear certain pastors, hear this and that, and just do my own thing with like research. But honestly, I haven't found anything that I can really put my feet down on and like hold on to it. But I know there's some truth in just in things of those matters. But yeah, I honestly don't know. And yeah, you're making a lot of good points. So
I'm changing something in my thing.
Oh, you're fine, man. But yeah, I was just wondering if you ever read into stuff like that, and yeah, I was just gonna ask you your opinion and stuff.
In John 5:39, part of why I brought up the you search the scriptures thing. You study the scriptures diligently because you think that in them you have eternal life. These are the very scriptures that testify about me. That's NIV, whatever. But that's what Jesus said to the people who were he was talking to.
Yeah,
But he said something interesting in there. Let me go with the New American Standard. Scriptures. You examine the scriptures because you think that in them you have eternal life. Let me timestamp it. And it is those very scriptures that testify, oh Lord, about me. My boomer self doesn't know how to side scroll. Look at this. Look at this. Why is it doing that? Let me see. Oh, no. What just happened? Anyway, I think I can read it here. No, it won't work. Why is it like this? Anyway, scriptures. And it is those very scriptures that testify about me, and yet you are unwilling to come to me so that you may have life. Do you have life?
No, sir.
Dang, in the world. Why is it so hard to find Jesus or whatever?
Yeah, why?
Or is
and that's
it?
like, that's where I'm kind of going off of.
Or is it?
I don't know. I really don't know.
Because you haven't really searched. Have you really searched, or are you, or is it just vanity?
I am trying my best, but no, I'm not doing it. No, sir.
Really? Are you
Yeah.
just saying that, or because I don't want you to just be agreeable to
Oh
whatever
no,
I'm
well,
saying?
I'm saying like I am doing my best, but from what Bond tells me to do, no, I'm not doing it. No.
You're not doing what Bond tells you to do?
Yes, sir.
What does Bond tell you to do?
Or what Jesse, like with the silent prayer, I am on and off with it. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But you're not on and off so much with all this reading stuff.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily like I'm reading. I'm kind of just listening to things.
Oh, listening. So
yeah,
you're listening to these books on tape? Not tape.
Yes, sir.
Books, audio books?
Yeah.
So I remember when I was in college, I did a lot of reading and not a lot of praying. And then I started doing like writing, acting like I was praying. But it wasn't like, it was vanity as well. What a mess, huh? Many words. There's one point where Jesus says, if they think by their many words, they'll be heard, something like that.
Yeah.
There's one point where, not Jesus, but somewhere in the Bible, it says, let your words be few.
And I can see that to be, I can see the sense in that.
Do you realize, do you agree with the notion of committing to prayer? Or silent prayer? Specifically?
What does notion mean again, sir?
Oh, idea. Do you agree with do you agree that you should do the silent prayer morning and night?
Yes, but something in my head does not.
Yeah.
And it makes excuses.
So you agree that that there's nothing wrong with it, let's say. Do you agree that it's right?
I don't know if it's wrong or right.
Okay. Do you think you're wrong in not doing it?
No, I don't.
Oh,
I don't have an opinion.
Yeah.
Or I don't have a thought on that, sir.
Do you feel bad? You're guilty not doing it?
Something in my head tells me I am.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm just dealing with the most. It's they're not my thoughts, but it's thoughts. And
do you know that they're not your thoughts?
No, sir.
Yeah, because if you knew that, it feels like you can say that and like agree with it intellectually, but when it comes down to it, you have thoughts and you obey them.
Yes, sir. Yeah,
I noticed
and
that.
It sounds like me. Yeah. I know I don't. It sounds like me. That's all I can say.
Yeah. Mr. Pink, vain repetition, Jesus. Blah, 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 blah.
Do you
In
think
Matthew 6:7. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead with your question.
Oh, I'm sorry, sir. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
I was just wondering, I think I've heard Jesse say this, and I know he's just like, don't be hooping and hollering, like that's not going to do any good. But I know I think I've heard him say that I could ask Jesus just for like a little help. But yeah, I just don't know how to do that. And yeah, I really don't know. I'm just, I know it's not me struggling, but it feels like it. So, but I really do appreciate, everything that Bond has to offer. And I don't know if, I know I hear sometimes Jesse say, if you're not going to, you got to commit to this and stuff. But if just hearing what you guys have to say is helping me, I guess, or if I think that, is that something I should stick with? I just don't know. Yeah, I'm really, I'm at a loss for words. So that's all I have to say.
it's good hearing from you, Christian in Utah. I appreciate your call. I gotta run. I gotta end my stream in like 30 seconds. Take care, man.
Oh, okay. You too, man.
Guys, Ryan in Illinois is Jesus Black. Jaime in Minnesota, Minneapolis drug buzz. Joe in Phoenix, Federal Reserve Blacks. And the rest of the callers and the super chats. I got to get out of here. Anchor Baby next. But he's streaming from out of the office. So anyway, take care, guys. Bye. What a mess. American Anchor Baby next.